Hey, good Saturday morning, guys. It's 8:41 a.m. on this November 2nd, 2024. And yes, if you have music choice on your cable outlet or streaming outlet, depending on how you look at it, Dish, Direct TV outlet, whatever. If you have music choice and you go to the Sounds of the Season channel, yes, even though it took a day later than I thought it would, you do have Christmas music now on Sounds of the Season's music channel, music choice music channel, if you will. Again, depending on how you get it, whether it's your streaming platform or whether it's your basically your cable outlet, whether it's like it said, Cablevision, Xfinity, Spectrum, you name it, DirecTV, Dish. Basically, it is on there now. It is on there now. So you guys, if you want to listen, I should say, to some Christmas music to accompany you along with you watching, if you're into it, the Christmas movies that are already been out for the past few weeks on places like Hallmark, Great American Family, PureFlix, as well as I think even Lifetime, but mostly the first two. If you want Christmas music, again, go to Music Choice, the Music Choice channel, the Music Choice Sounds of the Season channel, I should say, and you'll be able to get it there depending on what channel it's on your cable outlet, streaming outlet, or dish outlet. But speaking of Christmas, I'm sure some of you may be aware of this, but yesterday, well, a lot of us were in school, college, classes, whatever the case may be, or in my case, in most of our cases, work. In case you guys didn't find out until breaks or until you got out of work or out of classes or whatever, the traditional animated holiday classics of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and Frosty the Snowman will no longer be aired on CBS. Instead, they will be aired on NBC. Now, I think a lot of us kind of felt that something like this was going to happen since NBC Universal, Comcast, Xfinity, if you will, DreamWorks falls under their division along with Illumination and Classic Media, which Classic Media is where Rudolph and Frosty are part of. We had a feeling something like this may happen, because again, they own the rights. They outright own the rights to the specials and many more. But despite that, for the past several years, even after Universal acquired the rights, the classic media rights, to Rudolph and Frosty and many others, for many years, they kept allowing networks like CBS, like ABC, Fox to an extent, Freeform, you name it, formerly Family Channel, excuse me, they would allow them to air the specials. And now, of course, it's all part of licensing and everything, but despite that, they would still allow them to air the specials. Well, this year, NBC decided that last year, 2023, would be the last year CBS would air Frosty and Rudolph. Now, like I said, we should have saw something like this coming, seeing as though a couple of years ago, all of a sudden, Freeform was airing Frosty the Snowman and Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer before and after, but mostly after the initial, annual yearly run on CBS. We started noticing that. So something told us something was up. Something told us that, hey, something might be, a miss, or not a miss, but something might be, kind of out of left field here. Like something feels different. Like there's going to be a change. Well, that change is going to happen this year because on December 5th, around 8:30 a.m. Eastern Pacific, I believe. I have to go double check. I'll put the article, if I can, in the description from Deadline. But it is and yes, this is from Deadline.com. But basically, starting on December 5th, a little over a month from now, basically about 33 days from now, Frosty the Snowman will debut for the first time on NBC, because initially Frosty was always on CBS since its conception in 1969. Yeah, this thing is 55 years old. This special is 55 years old, 10 years older than me. But anyway, it was initially, broadcast from CBS till recently on in 2023 since its conception. So it's always been a traditional CBS special. But like I said, ever since classic media was bought out by Universal and such, under the Dream, along with DreamWorks and Illumination and all that, basically NBC only allowed the licensing of Frosty to CBS and then extended that licensing over to Freeform and so on, as well as the various sequels to Frosty, like Frosty's Winter Wonderland, Legend of Frosty, and so on, to other outlets. So, yeah, basically NBC decided that this was going to be the year, 55 years since its conception, this was going to be the year that they were going to bring Frosty over. They were going to have it jump ship from its long-term home over to the home of the people that rightfully own it, and that being NBC. So yeah, on December 5th on NBC, I think it's 7:30, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 Central, Frosty the Snowman, the classic 1969 animated Rankin-Bass special, will debut for the first time on NBC. But then the following night, making its return to NBC after a five-decade hiatus, mainly about 52 years, believe it or not, making its return to NBC after a 52-year, five-decade hiatus, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. That's right. Rudolph debuted originally in 1964 as part of the GE General Electric Fantasy Hour, and had always been a staple on NBC for at least the first 7 years. And then in 1972, CBS, I don't know who the parent company was at the time, whether it was Viacom or somebody else, bought the rights to air the show, bought the rights to air the special, along with probably any other specials at the time, for a significant amount of money and for a long duration. Now, I'm pretty sure that the duration originally was not supposed to be for 5 decades. I think it was supposed to only go for maybe 10 years and then maybe getting renegotiated, maybe maybe shopped out to other networks. But it seemed, if that is the case, just my opinion, if that is the case, then basically it seems that CBS would always step up and say, hey, we want to keep Rudolph on our network as part of our holiday tradition. Now, as a kid, I've always remembered that the initial specials that CBS would always have, every year for Christmas, was Charlie Brown, Garfield, Rudolph, and Frosty. And I think even for the time they had Santa Claus. But be that as it may, basically, my opinion, I think CBS every 10 years, 10 years, mostly 10 years, would renew, the licensing rights to the specials. Now, yes, the special, unlike the unedited VHS, DVD, Blu-ray, and 4K Blu-ray releases, the special was edited for, quite some time. It went through different edits. It would restore certain things like it did back in the late 90s, early 2000s. It would remove certain things due to time restraints and so on. So basically, it was going through kind of an up and down, I guess you could say, duration run with CBS. Then all of a sudden, NBC, like I said, NBC Universal, Comcast Xfinity, if you will, they bought the rights to classic media, and they decided, okay, CBS, you can still keep the licensing until we decide to take it back, but we're also going to shop out the license to other outlets so that people could see the special as it was intended. And you kind of see that with places like Freeform and AMC. The shopping around they shopped around, I should say, the licensing, and airing rights to all these other cable outlets, not broadcasting, but cable outlets. And that's why when you watch Santa Claus is Coming to Town, Frosty the Snowman, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and so on places like Freeform and AMC, you're seeing it as it was originally meant to be seen. True, certain things were taken out of it, like, with Rudolph, the General Electric Company Presents that title card was taken out. The Peacock in Living Color, thing was taken out, although I have a feeling they might reinsert that just for its return to NBC on Friday, December 6th. Now, why is this happening, though? Why is this happening? Well, mainly because it is the 60th anniversary. That's right, 60 years since this debuted. Now, you might say, well, why didn't they just wait to 75? Well, by then, who knows whether or not NBC or the various NBC, broadcast networks and cable outlets will exist, because we're heading in this evolutionary direction of just digital and all that. So who knows what will happen in the next, 11 years? Well, not 11, but 15 years. Who's gonna know what's gonna happen in the next 15 years? Whether any of us, hold on for a sec. Whether or not any of us will be around at that time or not is, totally up in the air. But the point is, it doesn't have to rely on this, a celebration doesn't have to rely just on the 25th, the silvers, the diamonds, whatever. It's mainly, how long something's been around. And, to celebrate that is huge, no matter what the milestone is. And 60 years, literally over half a century, guys, half a century is huge. Now, I know they did something for the 50th anniversary back in 2014. They released it on Blu-ray, and they did something there. I should know I have the little Blu-ray storybook version as we speak. But, they haven't, CBS never really did anything big for it, as far as I know. I mean, they did something, but not as significant as, it was intended to be. So NBC decided when they get the licensing back, or when the rights become free again, I should say, they're going to take it back, and they're going to celebrate Rudolph and its big anniversaries as it's meant to be. So on December 6th, at 8 o'clock, I believe, 8 o'clock Central, well, not Central, but 8 o'clock Pacific and Eastern, 7 o'clock Central, but at 8 Eastern and Pacific, I believe. Again, I'll put the description in. I'll put the article in the description, I should say. They will be airing a 75-minute edition of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. What that means to me, what that tells me, is we're going to get the unedited version. I think the unedited version, as it's meant to be seen on broadcast television, as well as we're going to probably get some, special feature. In other words, some kind of like historical mini doc on the history of Rudolph. That's just my opinion. But yeah, Rudolph is going back to NBC after 5 decades away, after 52 years away, to celebrate 60th anniversary, and it's going to be there moving forward. And Frosty the Snowman will be accompanying it. It'll air the day before on NBC, and it's going to be debuting on NBC for the first time ever. But like I said, this is something that we should have expected was going to happen, seeing as though over the past several years we've been seeing Frosty, Snowman, and Rudolph being licensed over to Freeform and getting the unedited, uncut versions there. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting watch, and it's definitely going to be a change for a lot of us. Because a lot of us, like myself, since the 80s, since, I was born, basically, well, not necessarily, well, yeah, since I was born, had, grown up with the special being on CBS only, or grown up with these specials being on CBS only and nothing, and nothing more. But so now it's going to be a change, and it's going to be interesting. It's going to be an interesting change. I do remember when they made the announcement that Charlie Brown Christmas had moved from CBS to ABC. Like, that was a change, because everybody was so used to it being on CBS that, it took them a little bit of time to be like, oh, it's on ABC. And I think ABC had to rebroadcast it twice, if not three times, in its initial debut on that network before people got used to the fact of, oh, okay, it's on ABC and such. And then that got licensed out to Freeform with Family Channel and such. And now you have to get Apple TV Plus, if not hope for PBS or somebody to buy the rights to air it on television as it traditionally should be. Or get the 4K or whatever, buy it on streaming and just watch it on a regular Friday or Thursday night or Wednesday night as you would normally would back as a kid. But again, I was always so used to, it and Garfield, which, the Garfield one you can watch on YouTube, I think, through its YouTube channel. But it and Garfield and, Frosty and Rudolph and all of them, I was always so used to being on CBS, and along with Santa Claus coming to town. So these kind of changes, throughout the decades will always be like, man, I didn't see that coming. I'm not used to it. But over time, you're like, okay, I know where it's at. I know where it's at now. I know I can find it now, and everything. So that's cool with me. That's fine with me. But yeah, that's pretty much what's going on now. On December 5th, Frosty the Snowman will debut for the first time on NBC after being a staple on CBS for over 5 decades itself. And Rudolph will be returning to NBC for the first time since its last broadcast on there in 1971. So yeah, it's going back to NBC, and we'll see what they do with it. We'll see if they bring out the old in living color peacock thing like they did originally, and we'll see what the mini doc is going to be, because I got a feeling that's what we're going to get as well when it comes to the 75-minute presentation of Rudolph on December 6th. And we'll also see whether or not to do a repeat of it like CBS did, just so people can catch up with it if they didn't watch it the first time. And we'll see if it stays on Freeform and as well. I got a feeling it might, because of a licensing agreement. But let me know what your guys' thoughts are initially on this. How do you feel about, Rudolph going to, going back to NBC along with, Frosty debuting on there for the first time? How do you feel about it? Do you think it's going to be, worth the change and everything? And do you think NBC will finally keep it the way it was originally meant to be seen, basically back when it first came out? Let me know what your thoughts are. Comment down below, like the video, ring the bell for notifications, subscribe to the channel, click on the links in the description to find my content everywhere here on the internet and social media. Also, check out the Teespring store for merchandise you can't get anywhere else. But guys, and also check me out at divanart.com at BVW1979. But guys, give me your thoughts. Love to hear how you feel about this. And until next time, I'm out.